good morning, or I guess it's the afternoon now, but regardless, hello. I wanted to check in, and I thought today we could talk a little bit about the inner critic. So, for those of you who don't know, I am Rebecca Newkirk. I am a therapist specializing in complex trauma, and I'm also a clinic coach specializing in helping high achievers and perfectionists have more fun and still get their shit done. And today I wanted to talk just for about 5 minutes about some stuff that we don't typically think about with the inner critic. And that is that it's usually protecting us from something. So that's a really important part that we don't usually think about, is actually there's usually, as far as IFS is concerned, they call it an exile. It's like a younger part that holds a sense of shame or not being good enough or fear of being abandoned, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a very overwhelming and big experience. And so our whole sort of like psyche colludes to protect us from having to have that experience. So when your inner critic, and I know it doesn't feel like it makes sense because the inner critic is pretty mean and then it feeds the shame, but nonetheless, this is how our systems have developed in a lot of cases. So when you are experiencing your inner critic, we talked last week in great detail about how to interact with that part and why it's so important to interact compassionately. And I wanted to talk a little bit further about that, because the way that and here's my example. So when my mom died and I was very upset, my daughter would sometimes come up to me, and for those of you who don't know, she's 3. She would come up to me and she would offer me milk or she would offer me her special blanket. So she was trying to comfort me. And the way that she was trying to comfort me was by providing me with something that would comfort her, right? So first of all, we could have a whole conversation about how I don't want her to actually feel like she needs to do that. But in this case, what we're actually focusing on is she was providing to me what she felt like she would have wanted in the same situation, because that's how little people's brains are wired. So we do the same thing actually when we're self-soothing with the inner critic, is we forget that the inner critic is actually like young. And so we say like, well, how are we going to self-soothe this? And that's when some not so awesome behaviors sometimes come into play. I'm going to self-soothe by shopping. I'm going to self-soothe by completely zoning out and dissociating. I'm going to soothe by whatever the case may be. But usually we're responding to like an older part of ourselves. We're responding to ourselves, our inner critic, as though it's the same like age and maturation level that we are. And what I like to tell my clients is that actually it is helpful sometimes to interact with it. We're interacting with it like it's a young child, and then actually soothing it like it's a young child. Sometimes that means like, do you want a hot chocolate? Do you want to watch a Disney movie? Like, let's not watch like adult people movies. Like, do you want to watch a Disney movie? Do you want to like lay down and take a nap like under a weighted blanket? I love my weighted blanket. But I'm inviting you to consider when that inner critic is very loud and it's giving you a really hard time. It's going to be, that's that urgency that we talked about. You're going to feel it in your chest. You're going to notice the tightening. You're going to notice a sense of like, I have to do something. I have to fix it. I have to like be productive. You are never, I'm sorry to say, you're never going to be able to satisfy the inner critic, because it is always going to feel unsafe until you are able to soothe it and engage with it kindly. That is the only way that it's going to calm down. And so what that means in this case is, hey, I see you. Thank you for trying to help me. Even if you don't feel grateful, sometimes it's helpful to say, I am really working on and would like to feel grateful. Whatever's honest. We definitely want to stay honest with ourselves, because it's not like you can't tell you're lying. So, I appreciate you. Thanks for being here, or I'm trying to learn to appreciate you. I don't need that kind of help right now. So we don't do the thing that it's telling us to do, particularly not with that energy. We can talk about other things to do instead in later videos. But instead what we do is, how can I, I'm here for you and I'm here with you right now. How can I comfort you? And then see if you can, like, whatever age that inner critic feels like it is for you. Like for a lot of people, it's like 3 to 5, maybe a little bit older. What would you have wanted when you were 3 to 5 years old? Like, would you have wanted some milk? Would you want your special blanket? Like whatever that may be now. And provide that kind of support to yourself, and do it with an edge of like, or an emotional backing of, I deserve to feel good. I deserve to be taken care of. This part of me is trying to help, but it doesn't know how. Let's just breathe and come into our body and do something that a young child or young me, in my case, little Rebecca, might want from me. So I hope that is helpful. This is our quick and dirty inner critic info, I guess. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. If you have anything that you would like me to expound upon further, I'm happy to do that as well. I will be here live every single Monday. So take good care, and I'll talk to you soon.